Hello, my lords and ladies. My name is King Xylos. Recently, I have seen a couple people take this test, and I have taken this personality test a few times before. If I remember right, I got the mediator, and is it the logician? So I believe it was INFP or T, and then something else. So it's INFP and INTP, the mediator and the logician. So I'm going to take it again, even though I've taken it, just to run it through with you guys. Mostly because I can. Um, Takes less than 12 minutes. That's bull crap. Every time it's taken me over half an hour. Mostly because I flip a lot on a lot of the questions. Answer honestly, even if you don't like the answer. I always do that, but it's more common that I don't know what the answer would be. Try not to leave any neutral answers. I try to avoid that as well. You find it difficult to introduce yourself to other people. For a while, it was really difficult. Like, I don't know if it was anxiety or social whatever, but I literally could not introduce myself to people. Like, I'd be sitting on a bus and it would be like a nice looking girl or something, or a guy that's friendly sitting beside me, and I could not even begin to say the words to anyone. I tried this on many occasions. With friends, it was different. If I was with friends, it would flow out of me, and I'd be much more boisterous. I'm going to go with mostly agree, because alone I cannot, since it's personality test for me, um, maybe you should, yeah, I'll go with this. You often get so lost in thoughts that you ignore or forget your surroundings. 100% me. You try to respond to your emails as soon as possible and cannot stand a messy inbox. So I'm going to show you guys something. This is my old email that I had before college. It's over 7,000 emails. Why is Apple emailing me? I don't have an Apple product. How do I sign out? I'm lost. I don't like this new setting. And this is my other email, headed in the same direction. Even when they're emails that mean something, I just don't read them. So that would be a huge disagree. Occasionally I'll check them and then run away screaming because they are a lot and a horde of enemies. You find it easy to stay relaxed and focused even when there is some pressure. I don't know about relaxed, it's very stressed inside, but I can stay focused. It's kind of heavy. I'm gonna just say agree. You do not usually initiate conversation. You do not usually initiate conversations. I'm gonna say, well, with who? With my friends, I initiate them all the time. With strangers, not so much. So I'm gonna say yes. Granted, I was alone most of the time. It's hard to tell. You rarely do something just out of sheer curiosity. I will actually disagree. There have been some times where I'll just try something new for the heck of it, or I have this urge to do something out of the ordinary, like once every so often, which I ignore it most of the time, which is sad, but that's life, unfortunately. And there have been times where, out of sheer curiosity, just to see what's behind the door, even though I'm not supposed to be behind there, I'll look. 'Cause I don't get bored immediately because there's really not much interesting back there. But I love finding things like an attic full of old stuff, or like it's always been fascinating to find like a chest full of old things. You feel superior to other people. No. I feel less than other people most of the time, but I feel superior in some things that I'm really good at. And I know there are better people, obviously, like writing and video making, which I can't really show my skills that well with the stuff I have, but and I still have a lot to learn. Or art, or being strong. Yeah, being organized is more important to you than being adaptable. I'm not very organized to begin with, um, but I'm an extremely adaptable person. I would love to be organized, but I'm not. Although I do have to agree, I have to change it because if you're not organized at least a little bit, your life will fall apart. You will miss bill payments. You will miss um, appointments. You will miss spending time with friends because you forget that it's a thing. So there has to be some sort of degree of organization, but I've always been more adaptable. You are usually highly motivated and energetic. See, I don't like it when they lump two in together. Um, because I am never highly motivated. There would be times where I'm writing a book and I've literally had 6 month spans where I don't do anything. I'll generate ideas because I actually have a hard time shutting that off. But in general, like sometimes I go a ridiculous amount of time without writing anything, and I really hate myself for doing that. But it's just what happens. Energetic, I have a hard time producing a good persona sometimes, but see, when I'm with friends, I'm a lot more bubbly because I have a reason to be bubbly. When I'm by myself, ever since I was little, it's like I don't need emotions because I'm not near a reason to do it. I don't know, it's weird. I am not. I'm not going to do this because I'm not a bum. I can be motivated to do things, but I'm a huge procrastinator. Winning a debate matters less to you than making sure no one gets upset. I used to, a long time ago, wanted no one to be upset. But the more I learn about truth, the more I learn about the world around me, the more I see how people can take an idea and burrow underneath it and not listen to anyone else, the more I have to say, well, that doesn't even matter, does it? Because it's not winning a debate that matters to me. It's making sure they understand the truth. Not just my truth, because I can learn from them too, but from people in general. But it is true, I don't care about winning, but I care when someone gets hurt or annoyed with me. And I'll apologize more often than I should. So I'm going to say yes. I don't care about winning the debate. I care about people taking things away from it that are positive, wisdom and knowledge. You often feel as if you have to justify yourself to other people. Yes? Yes. Like I'm always explaining myself. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. If someone's like even if someone's just being sarcastic and I don't realize it quick enough, then I'll start explaining myself right away. Your home and work environments are quite tidy. No. I try to keep things tidy, but at the same time I'm too lazy. So it degrades very fast. You do not mind being at the center of attention. I like it, I have to say, and be honest about it, but it's always been awkward for me since I'm not that good socially. So being at the center of attention, like I didn't know how to react, so I would just smile and kind of like shrink down. But I've been more accepting about it. Like if someone commends me on something, I'll say thank you and stuff like that. Um, so no, I do not mind anymore. I used to. You'll notice in some of my videos I have paintings and I draw stuff and I write all the time. So I'm a huge creative person. It overflows sometimes. People can rarely upset you. So people do rarely upset me. I'm one of the most calm, cool, and collected people that apparently my friends have ever known because that's all they tell me, is that I'm just a really calm person. Your travel plans are usually well thought out. When I travel, Usually the well thought out ones are because of my parents or friends. So when I do it by myself, it's not thought out. Like the first travel plan I did by myself, I went down to Virginia, which is from where I am, really far north. Takes a long time. I did it by car. It's almost a day's worth of driving there and back. And it was fun. It was fine. I'm very patient and I like the road trip aspect. But I could have taken a train. I'm a stupid. It is often difficult for you to relate to other people's feelings. Yes. There was a time when a best friend lost his brother, and I tried to comfort him. And I think a few dozen times, while my dad was there, and his dad, and my friend, and I just couldn't think of anything to say, so I stayed silent. And I kept going like, because I couldn't think of anything. So there's that. I've often been a little bit distanted from people. Does that make sense? I have to agree a lot. I'm working on it though. God is making a lot of changes in my life, and this is one of them. I'm actually connecting with a lot of people. But my mind recoils at the thought of myself being vulnerable to other people. So it's a slow change. Mood can change very quickly. To me, I feel like I change moods a lot. Um, too quickly sometimes. But it's hard to explain. I don't think I have a mental issue, but I change more often than I feel I should. And to protect myself, I often feel it's better not to have feelings. But I have changed that decision. In a discussion, truth should be more important than people's sensitivities. This is very difficult. There's been a huge, well, some people are like, well, it shouldn't be. People are sensitive and you should be nice to them. And I agree, you should be nice to people. But if someone believes something wrong and you care about them, isn't it just as important not to set them straight? If you lecture people, they will turn away mostly, you know. Um, but if you love someone and you know they're doing something wrong or destructive, it is a friend's job, a parent's job, a family member's job or obligation because of that love. If you want people to have the best life possible, you want to see them stop that destructive thought or destructive behavior. A lot of people, because of PC, political correctness, are more in favor of bash down the doors, yell it in their face, and then leave. I'm more intrapersonal, which means I like making connections with people. Ironic, I know. That's one of my favorite things. And I like to tell people the truth, regardless of how they feel about it, but I'm not rude about it. And I like to discuss philosophical topics. And it gets to the point where the way I do it, if someone gets sensitive about it, it is either because of their issues inside their own mind and the way they view it, or they just don't like that topic. Not to say I haven't done this before and pushed people to a certain point, and would like to think I've learned from that. But in general, um, I'm just ranting here now. Truth is the most important thing. I think all people should abide by truth. Not everyone is going to abide by truth because they are convinced of things that may not be truthful. So, there is a certain point you tell people what is truthful, and due to free will, they can accept it or they cannot. If they don't, sadly to say, you have to accept that decision. That doesn't mean you can't bring it up again in the future. Maybe they've changed, maybe they've witnessed things, because you never know which direction people will change into. Um, Especially the crazier someone gets, the more you should try to help them, but then some people abandon them altogether. It's a very difficult topic. Yes, tempted to go with this one. Because just because someone is sensitive about something doesn't make it true. You should approach someone as fragilely as possible, like have a fragile sticker across them. You don't know their past, they don't know what they've been through. It doesn't mean you should water down the truth because they can't handle it. That makes sense. You rarely worry about how your actions affect other people. If you haven't picked up by how much I go back and forth, I worry constantly how my actions worry other people, to the point where it drives me insane. No, wait. So I'm always worrying what people think of me, what I've done and what people think of it, and what I've done and how people are reacting to it, to the point where it's gotten unhealthy. I've gotten better with it, but I'm not nearly as insecure as I was. And that has a lot to do with faith in God and that everything will be okay, or just believing that their world does not revolve around me, and they're much worried about their own self than with me. Your work style is closer to a random energy spikes than to a methodical, organized approach. Amen. Sometimes it takes 6 months before I start writing again. This painting I just started working on here, design is not mine. It's not from the internet either. Actually, my sister's. I saw her doodle something one day, and I said, "That's amazing. I thought you said you were never an artist." She's like, "I'm not." That's art. So to prove her wrong, I took one and I painted it. And I have to admit, trying not to sound prideful, but it looks really good. And she loved it. Sadly, I didn't get to see her reaction because she saw it before I got home from work. But she was grateful for it. It's hanging up in her house. I plan to make her a series of 3. Um, and she's still convinced she's not an artist. Ah! You are often envious of others. No. And here's why. I may not like how I am sometimes, but I know how difficult it is for everyone. And if they have something going for them, doesn't mean it won't end, and it doesn't mean that they're comfortable with themselves, as we've seen with many suicidal celebrities who should have everything together, but they don't. So, using that logic, money has never really meant the most to me. Um, there's why monetization is not going to mean that a lot to me. I would like it to keep going with all this, but if I can't rely on it, I'm not going to care. The point is the creativity, the content, helping people, changing their lives. I learned that that's possible by Markiplier on here. I'm not envious of others. I don't have the green envy. There are moments where I'm like, oh, I wish I had that skill, or I wish I had, I don't know, material things. Like, I don't, there's a lot of things I don't care about that other people do. Um, I've always valued creativity more than most things. So I need to learn to be happy where you are and gradually get to the where you want to be. An interesting book or video game is often better than a social event. See, I like Friends a lot, but I used to read a crap ton when, it's a disgusting image, when I was younger, um, to the point where in one middle school year, because I read a series called Animorphs, which a lot of you might know. One of my favorites, I think it lasted 53 books. That's not including the extra long ones that she stuck in there. K.A. Applegate, by the way. Brilliant author. I've tried to reread the series again. For some reason, I just can't do it, but I really want to. Where was I going with that? I read 153 books in 1 year. Was that many? Or is it over 100? Something really high. I'm just going to say around 100. 153 sounds like a lot. No one believed me, although I read a book a day. The Animorph series was like maybe 100 pages per, and they were really big font too, so it wasn't that impressive because I'm a slow reader, and I was constantly reading it, which is why I'm nearsighted now, because I would read it like this. By the way, I'm not sponsored by anything. I just eat all the time when I'm videoing. I really like both. Probably a long time ago I would have chosen this, but more often now I'll probably choose this. Now that I've developed strongly socially with friends surrounding me and stuff, talking to me and hanging out with me, unlike my childhood, this is probably where I've ended up. If someone offers to hang out and I'm in the middle of playing a game, I will stop the game probably to go hang out with them. Being able to develop a plan and stick to it is the most important part of every project. Being a procrastinator that I am, and usually starting with a half-butt idea of a plan. Would a half-butt be a cheek? Starting with a cheek of a plan. Because I have made a cheek of a plan every time I make a plan, and it's usually with other people that I help finish a plan, or when I know exactly what I want, which is rare, they usually don't get done. But that just might be me, because I need to know exactly how I'm going to do something before I can finish how to do it. And I'm lazy. And other things. Yes. No. Yes. Because creativity is all and adaptability is also very important. While it's good to be able to finish it, if you don't have the ability to change while in the midst of the plan, or to come up with the plan in general, that's also an issue. So I'm going to do this because there's a lot of unfinished projects I have or ideas I've never finished, which might change in the future. So I'm going to say false. Because sometimes the plan that you make is not always the end result. Because I've had that before where I'm filming with friends and the end result from what we started is not even close to what we planned. I'm just going to go before I hurt myself. You rarely get carried away by fantasies and ideas. Literally half my day is thinking of things that will never happen. And as you can tell by my pie series, thinking of ideas is literally all I do. You often find yourself lost in thought when you are walking in nature. When I was younger, that'd be a no. Now that I'm older and I see beauty in nature, I agree. And that's when I talk to God, is when I walk in nature. For some reason, it comes natural, or when I'm driving in the car. If someone does not respond to your email quickly, I'm going to replace that with text message. You start worrying if you said something wrong. That used to be 100%, and I would get paranoid and asking the person if something was wrong, like, did I say something wrong? What happened? 95% of the time, it turns out they just became busy and couldn't respond anymore. And evaluating that, and the fact that I've been talking to people and just stopped responding because one, I became distracted and like didn't hear my phone when it was off to the side, or something like that, then I realized that it's not really all about them not picking up. It's just circumstances you can't see. So I calmed down about that a lot. Once you learn social norms and patterns, then it's a lot easier to become less worried about that. As a parent, you would rather see your child grow up kind than smart. I remember the guy from Crank Gameplays, Ethan. He was arguing with himself. I think he ended up agreeing that it should be a kind person than a smart jerk, which I kind of agree with. But they also don't get as many opportunities if they're not smart, which is also not entirely true. Some figuratively dumb people have gone on to lead very successful lives. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I'd rather have a kind person who's not rather that intelligent, but I also want them to have all the advantages in the world. But they don't have to be super smart to get all the advantages of the world, as we have seen in life. You do not let other people influence your actions. It happens to me all the time. Like, in fact, I will go out of my way to have people make them influence my actions because most of the time I don't trust myself to get things right. Someone will tell me to do something, I'll go to do it, and it's not at all what they told me to do. Even if I use their exact wording, I take that wording and I interpret it completely wrong. From childhood, I learned to ask lots of questions saying, hey, I'm not sure about this. What should I do with this? To the point where I annoy my employers with it because they're like, you should, this is obvious. Why aren't you just doing it? But I think most of them learn to like adapt around me and just tell me things, and hopefully I get it right in the process. And I've learned not to worry about it because life goes on. But at the same time, I have a stubborn streak. If I want to do something, I will do what I want. Your dreams tend to focus on the real world and its events. That's confusing. Real world as in what I could have now or what I could have in the future. I often think about the future. There are some things I think of that are like, I wish I had that now, like a better job that suited me or a girlfriend or a life. I'm gonna say no. My dreams are becoming a successful artist, and that doesn't mean money and fame, although I'm not going to argue against those. I'm just saying I'd rather people see all my stuff and be happy about it, even if they didn't know who I was. You'd be like, you could like, see people become overjoyed with the stuff I make. So I'm going to say no, because I also wish I had superpowers, and that I was a brilliant author to the level of C.S. Lewis, and that I was a superhero or a villain. Hero. I didn't say that. What? It does not take you much time to start getting involved in social activities at your new workplace. Let's put it this way. Grocery store I worked at. So 3.5 years, 3 years. Granted, I went to college for 2 of those years, but still. I don't think I went to a single social thing. This current workplace, almost at a year now, don't think I've gone to a single social thing. You are more of a natural improviser than a careful planner. I am very detailed when I do things, but I also can come up with more creative things on the spot. Doesn't mean I can always implement them, but I can come up with a lot of cool alternatives or cool ideas. Not always, but generally I'm pretty good at that. I've been called a creative genius a couple of times. I hate saying that because it sounds really pompous, but just to give you an idea of what other people have called me, because I would never call myself that. Your emotions control you more than you control them. I didn't have emotions until recently, but now that I do have them, they control me a lot. Now I've developed techniques to help me control my emotions. But other than that, I am very whimsical and go by my emotions. I try to hold it back. Enjoy going to social events, not really, that involve dress up or role play activities. Good example, during college, they had like a Halloween dress up thing. Some people made costumes. A guy made a duct taped paper plates to himself, and it was the paper plate night. I think he borrowed my sword I made, and different stuff like that. Whereas I literally took a tan trench coat that someone gave me, put it on, and I was Castiel from Supernatural. So this one is basically neutral. I'm going to go with how little effort I put into normal stuff. I'm going to go with no. You often spend time exploring unrealistic and impractical yet intriguing ideas. All the freaking time. It never stops. Like, I've had, while I worked at somewhere, I had to keep writing down my ideas because during the 5, 6 hour shift, I would have like a list this long of stuff that just constantly. It's not constant because some days were like I wrote down one thing or nothing. Other days it would be like a giant list, but constant ideas flowing through my head. If it was allowed, I'd take a couple breaks per day just to go and pursue art things, but then art things take hours to do, so it would eat up the whole day. You would rather improvise than spend time coming up with a detailed plan. I'm I am a detailed person when it comes to art. When it comes to planning, I am not. So, and I'm not bad at improvising either. I'm kind of in between. But I'm going to say I'm better at improvising than I am at coming up with a detailed plan. You are relatively reserved and a quiet person. But I can get along with pretty much anybody, at least 90% of people. I can carry a conversation, but only 5 to 10% of those people am I going to give the opportunity to know me deeper. Yes, except for when I'm with friends and I'm boisterous with them until my introvert energy runs out and then I want to leave. If you had a business, you would find it very difficult to fire loyal but underperforming employees. Yes, because I love all the people unless they're a jerk face, then it would give me ungodly pleasure. Like, no one likes you, I don't like you, get out. No, but they're loyal, so that's not the situation. They're just bad at their job. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to. You often contemplate the reasons for human existence. Constantly. If you're not sure about that, I have a series that you can look up that prove that. Logic is usually more important than heart when it comes to making important decisions. The heart is important for making decisions because it leads you one way or the other. But your heart can be insane because it's linked to your brain. You're, try to follow your heart and the way it flows. Like if you have a passion for helping people in need or doing art or making videos or running a business, you should follow your heart and do those occupational things. Or but when your heart says that person hurt me, let's go at them with an axe, that's when logic would come into play. And a lot of people are having a problem with that currently in the USA. So I'm going to say mostly. People let their hearts take them away to places where they regret going. And it's logic, if you technically have the correct kind of logic that keeps you from hurting yourself or others, then it will keep you on the straight path of not dying and regretting your life. Keeping your opinions open is more important than having options. Keeping your options open is more important than having a to-do list. I hate to-do lists. I literally have to have people write things down for me if they want me to do it or contact me because uh, I cannot remember to do them. Like my parents have woken me up, be like, hey, here's a list, we have to go. And either I don't finish the list or I completely forget it's there. I like keeping my option open. I like buffer time in between the things I do because it just stresses me out if I don't. If your friend is sad about something, and you are more likely to offer emotional support than suggest ways to deal with the problem. I had to understand that some people don't want you to have an answer to the problem. Some people, emotional support, just want you to listen to what they have to say, and then just saying it to someone, that emotional connection allows them to de-stress. It's interesting. And I remember a lot of people confided in me when I was younger, like all the time. All through middle school and high school. It was weird. Like people saw me as a really nice person just because of how I would act around them, and then confided in me really dark things, or just tell me their problems. I am more likely to offer a solution to the problem, but I have learned to hold back and to test the waters and to see if they actually want a solution. Because if they don't, there's no point in telling them that. Because I've told people solutions before. Either A, they don't follow them, or B, they're annoyed, I guess. Or like they just doesn't seem to sink in. So I may want to give them a solution, but I've learned more just to start with this. And if they keep coming to me with it, then to give them this. You rarely feel insecure. That's hilarious. You have no difficulties coming up with a personal timetable and sticking to it. What's a timetable? Being right is more important than being cooperative when it comes to teamwork. So it's how you interact with people. Is being right more important, or is cooperating with people more important? In the few team projects I've had, I'm always more cooperative. Then I voice what my opinion is, and if people don't go with it and go a different direction, I shut up basically and let them do what they want. You think that's everyone's views should be respected regardless of whether or not they supported by facts or not. Depends on your definition of respect. We're talking about sensitivity and not talking to them about why it's wrong, then I do believe if they believe something and you know talking to them is not going to help them, you should not bother them about it. There's a verse in the Bible, don't cast pearls before swine, which means if you know, and this is not calling people swine, this is the analogy, the point. If you throw out pieces of wisdom and people aren't going to take it, why would you give it to people where it holds no value? So don't bother. Not that you shouldn't try, but if you keep pearls plural, if you keep giving it to them and you obviously know they are not going to take it, stop it. You can care about them, you can give them advice, but eventually it's just going to callous them to you. And they're not going to listen to anything. Respect is a huge thing. Respect people should always come before everything. Only because it's that kind of perspective where if you don't respect people, it doesn't matter what you say, it's not going to sink in. If you're disrespectful, immediately there's this wall that shuts off anything you could say to them. Rapport is the biggest thing, biggest tool for truth and different stuff like that. Because as soon as you have rapport, people will listen to you. If you don't have rapport, you might as well be yelling at a brick wall. You feel more energetic after spending time with a group of people. False. I'm an introvert. Actually, have found the specific range of hours I can last at a social event. 4 to 6. And I can literally feel like where I'm being happy and everything, and all of a sudden, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm tired. I want to go home. These fun things are no longer fun. Why are you talking to me? Go away. You frequently misplace your things. I cannot tell you the dozens of times I have lost keys, wallet, bills, drawings, paintings, my notebooks. Oh my gosh, how many times I lost a notebook for 6 months or a few years? I can't remember. And then I've lost jump drive, flash drives, whatever you want to call them, for such a long time to the point where I had to keep buying new ones. Don't even get me started on remembering username and passwords. You see yourself in a very emotionally unstable. See, this is difficult because I have two sides to myself. I have the always emotional side, but it contrasts with the no emotion side because I get carried away with my emotions more often than I should. I'm getting better at it. I feel like I'm headed here. My mind is always buzzing with unexplored ideas and plans. Always. I have several animation series I want to do, and hopefully gather the voices of Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, and PewDiePie if they allow me to have their voices for free because I got no money. So there's a couple ideas. I can think of 2 or 3 shorts and 2 series right off the bat, and more that I probably have forgotten that I need. But they could literally be like seasons long. If I could just find either people to help me animate it because I animate so slowly. It takes me a half an hour to do one frame because there's so much detail. Sorry, that was a bug. You would not call yourself a dreamer. I dream way too much. It gets in my head way too much. And I always want more than I have way too much. But not what other people have, just more than I have. Because I'm always dreaming of bigger and better things. You usually find it difficult to relax when talking in front of many people. The few rare times I've talked in front of people, it would be like a speech class. Made a couple speeches and had to talk in front of people. Like the entire time I'm in front of people talking, which is why this is so much better. Like my mind doesn't even comprehend what I'm saying. I'm just reading like barely, and if I can remember it, which I can't remember things. So I think I had to memorize it for like a few hours before the day I did speeches. I had to go over and over and over again, and then I couldn't tell you what the first word is from many of those speeches, except that one's about video games, and one was about the value of the Bible. No, it's context. I have no idea. I used to rely on imagination a whole ton because I didn't have experience. Now that I have experience, I still have the same amount of imagination. So it went from like 90% imagination and 10% experience to 60 to 40, 60% imagination to 40, just because there's more experience now. Worry too much about what other people think. Hallelujah. If the room is full, you stay close to the walls, avoiding the center. I stay closer to the food table. Generally, I don't talk to people. Unless I have friends, and I talk to who they're talking to, or I follow them around. I can remember a few times where I didn't really have anyone to talk to, so it was like a youth group or something, so I just sat at the very edge. I have a tendency to procrastinate until there is not enough time to do everything. I can answer that before I finish reading it. You feel anxious in stressful situations. I'm very good at pushing it down, or it's when aggression goes into the picture, like people who are not making the situation any better. Like if I drop and break something, my only fear is that someone will see it and start going after me. So it's like the human part of stressful situations that annoys the crap out of me because I like everyone to calm down and leave me alone. I'm sorry I did the wrong thing. Now shut up. I feel anxious, but I don't look it. I look like I'm under control. Believe that it is more rewarding to be liked by others than to be powerful. Now that I know what it's like to be liked by others, heck yes. Power can only get you so much. And eventually, the more of a jerk you are with power, the less people, or the less you are liked by others. Is it better to be feared or loved? I would always say both, because if you're just loved, people will see you as a weakling and try to take you out. If you're just feared, people will see you as a threat and try to take you out eventually. We see that throughout history, so both. If you have to only choose one, choose loved, then you have allies to back you up even though you're probably inevitably going to die. You have always been interested in unconventional, ambiguous things. Heck to the yes. This is my life right here. For some reason, ever since I was a child, and I can date this back to young single digit years, I like the odd things. I'll pick the odd thing out, and I'll like that. You often take initiative in social situations. If there is someone I know who knows what they're doing, like there's a boss man, I will follow them because I know they know what they're doing, or at least more than I do. If I am the one who knows the most, like I had a few new people in work recently who started asking me questions, I will step up to the plate and start telling them how things go. Granted, I may not always get the thing right or I know what I'm talking about, but I have that authority that I can scrounge up. Um, but many times when I can't remember what it's about or I have to reference them to other people, my authority goes, oh, I'm done. Liars. It took me a whole day. Woo! I knew it. So as I said, I'm a cross between a mediator and a logician. I think one is INFP and what INF or INTP, toilet paper. So I am 27% extroverted. Don't lie to me. Trait that we interact with our environment. 73% introverted. It feels like it. See, this is when I'm with friends and I'm in comfortable situations. Then I am the loudest person there, almost. This trait shows where we direct our mental energy. Holy crap. Intuitive, I don't really know what that means. That's right, no one can stop me from dreaming. Determines how we make decisions and cope with emotions. Thinking, feeling. Feel like it's more in the middle there, closer here, but this trait reflects our approach to work, planning, and decision making. Um, yep. This trait underpins all others. What does that mean? Showing how confident we are in our abilities and our decisions. What does that mean? If you guys want to know what I'm like, unfortunately, not everything in here is me, but a good amount of it. In the logician side, I took it and I got that one once. I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I don't know if my personality fluctuates between the two, which I've heard that's possible, depending on your situation and your mood. Um, so this isn't 100%. Um, these two, like every one of the percents for every person has a range, no matter how small. And the range can change depending on where you are and how you are. Some people are one. Well, thank you for watching. This is my personality. If you would like to know anything about it or me, this describes me pretty well. I think I'm thinking more like 75, 60% a mediator. Google it, type this in, and just start reading it. It's pretty close to how I am. Yeah, that was fun. Now you know kind of what I'm like. Um, I've considered doing a draw my life, but unless people ask for it a lot, um, it's been done so many times and other people have done it, and it takes me forever to draw, so it's going to take me a large amount of focus and time to do it because I draw in either realism or cartoonish, but not really monster. So it's hard to explain. You'll see what I mean. If you guys want it, I'm assuming this decision will only be made later when I have more people following me. But if you guys really do want it, then let me know. It'll have to take quite a few people to convince me. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.